So, Coach,
What makes Washington zone so challenging?
I just think that they're committed to it and they work on it, and their coaches have years of experience teaching it, and you can tell that they just practice it. There's different things that coaches value, and you could tell that they spend time because they're very active. They have good length. Thibault's always been a very good defender, and now he's put in a position where he could use his instincts and his athletic ability to try and get steals. And if you're weak with the ball and you go into the heart of their zone, they're gonna get deflections, and so you got to be able to attack it in a variety of ways. You can't try and solely get the ball to the high post. I mean, it's nice if you could get it there, and then you have a guy that could do something with it and make a good decision, make a good play.
I know that you've played a bunch of different types of zones, but do you feel like there's been improvement at facing them from the start of conference to now?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that we're playing them at this stage of the season, based on just how many teams have tried to zone us, and teams aren't shooting the ball very well against them from three, from distance, and that's usually what you're giving up in terms of zone. You got to be able to connect with some shots of distance so that you could try and stretch the zone out some more. But it's definitely, I think, an advantage to have played a number of teams that have zoned us over the last couple of weeks.
Is the message this week that you have a chance for a fresh start the second half of the Pac-12 schedule?
Just we just practiced really hard. I think we practiced harder this week than I have in weeks past, and we had a day after Saturday's game. Sunday the guys didn't do anything. It was our day off for the week, and we've gone at it the last 2 days, and so we're just trying to be more intense with how we compete and how we prepare. And I think our defense was the best it's been probably all year, with the turnovers we created and deflections and the charges, and and the blocks. So that's all got to carry over. So we've been trying to focus on that, and then the offense will take care of itself.
I think this is I know this is the only time you play them this season. Does that add any import to the value of these two games going up there?
I mean, I just think you're going to play the 18 games, and you're going to play who you play, and then you just try and win every one in front of you. That's all we're looking at. We haven't talked about Washington State at all. We're just focusing on this game, and that's kind of how we've approached most of the season.
Is Kamani all right with his foot, or is just he hasn't played as much lately just because that's how the rotations have done?
I mean, he's going to be getting better and better as the year goes on, and he gets more repetitions and practice time. And having missed those 6 weeks, it's not easy to get yourself back to where you were prior to that. But it's more of for our last game, I felt that's what the rotation asked for and what we needed. And he did go in there when we had a couple of fouls, and he competed and did what I hoped he would do. So it's right now it's I can't say what his role is going to be on Thursday, and that's not the easiest thing for him, especially a freshman. But he's had a great attitude, and he definitely wants to be on the floor. He's a competitor. That's kind of why we brought him here. But I think he accepted the role. He was happy we won, and we'll go from there.
Can you reflect on what the recruiting process was like with Daquan Lake?
I mean, it was, for me, I needed to go see Daquan, and went to watch him at Iowa Western. I just remember him just dominating that game that I saw him in 17 out of 20, I think, from the field, and like 38 points. And I just saw him finishing and dunking and touch around the basket and rebound. And so it was I knew that's kind of the guy that we needed. So from there, Coach Watkins did a great job of developing a relationship with Daquan, and he had a great visit, and I think it fit him. I know he had Kansas State and Rutgers and some others trying, but I think we were a great option for him.
Did anything stand out about his personality or his background, his kind of where he's from and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I just spent time with his family on the visit, and his brother's a high-level baseball prospect, and so he had a very athletic family, and I like guys that have a high ceiling, and just he only had a few years of basketball under his belt, so it's amazing how quickly he's coming along. And he complemented Romello, and he are a great 1-2 punch. He's Melo's so physical and can wear you down, and then Daquan comes in there. He's quick twitch, so it's a nice 1-2 punch.
So speaking of that 1-2 punch, is that a matter of try to impose your will on the opponent, or if the opponent's going to give it to you, then you're going to play them in the same lineup?
There's it depends what I feel we need during the course of the game, and there'll certainly be times that you might see both of those guys out there, and if teams go bigger and we need to make sure we're rebounding and defending the basket, and that's certainly a possibility moving forward.
What part of Remy Martin's game has stood out to you the most?
Just his passion, and his how he comes every day to practice, trying to get better, and his leadership. He's very talented, and pushing the ball and up the floor like I need my guards to, and how the pace and the style that we like to play. So he fits perfectly in that way. But I just more amazed with how he could take over games as a freshman, in a backup role, but come in there and just have such a great belief in himself that he could kind of. I think in the Utah game, kind of put us put the team on his back in the second half through some of those stages, and he's done that numerous times this year. So it's very exciting to know that he's capable of doing those things.
You've had Vitali back in the lineup for 3 games now. Is that going to be the plan, moving forward against Washington?
I mean, I don't see any reason to change anything at the moment. Everything's fluid. We're preaching competition, and guys got to keep playing well. If you're playing well in practice, and then you're going to earn your playing time.
It was reported today that the Pac-12 is considering going to a 20-game conference schedule. Would you be in favor of that?
Well, I mean, I'm just at the moment trying to get through to 18 this year, but it's. I mean, I see why it might make sense, and I'd have to, have more time to look at it. But then it would make everything, kind of an even playing field, for everyone. But I'd have to give it some more thought.
In the last 5 years, 4 teams have won in Lawrence. 2 of them are playing in Washington this week. What does that say about the Pac-12?
Well, I mean,
Well,
we won in Lawrence.
Right.
Yeah,
And so
they
did
won
they.
in Kansas
So did
City.
they.
No, they
We
won.
won
Well,
Kansas
no,
City.
they won.
Oh,
Kansas
you won. That's even better. That's better for my story. Thank you.
But it's still, a heck of an accomplishment. I know how good Kansas is, and they're just, they've done nothing to prove that they're not, an elite team. So, it was a great win for Washington, and a memorable win for me in my career to get that win. So it just shows, though, that the impact of their style and what they do on defense, and the job that Mike Hopkins has done there. Because I know from experience it's not easy out of the gates to build something, and he's done it and put his team in a great position already to have a chance to compete for postseason.
And you talked about the other day that the Pac-12 maybe not quite getting as much respect as could be or should be. You beating KU, Washington beating KU is maybe a argument that this conference is pretty strong.
I think that we should try and avoid getting hung up on strictly, well, we beat this team, and so their conference is now better than our conference. It's like, these things change. I mean, Stanford is not the team that they were in the non-conference. Dorian Pickens and Akpala make them an entirely different team. So now all the Pac-12 teams have to play that Stanford team. Mm-hmm. Utah has had good non-conference wins. I'm sure there are many other examples. It's a legit league. There's not a place that we could go and just walk on the floor and just mail it in and we got to win. It's just it's a high level league. It's better than people think.
You said after the Colorado game that you guys have been patient through this first half of the conference season and learning how to win in different ways. Is it a stretch that you've had to reinvent yourself, or you just had to kind of find different ways to be able to win?
Well, I just think that you have to be okay with how the game is played, and and navigate your way through it and not be frustrated that your opponent doesn't want to just run up and down with you and shoot early in shot clocks. Like, we had to adjust with, I think, teams knowing what's the best way to try and, from a style standpoint, make the game more manageable for them. So we're learning to deal with those conditions and to, you know, to defend better, to get more stops so that we can make it a little bit of a quicker game. And I think improving your defense, you know, helps if you want to quicken the game some. But I think it's been a benefit. I mean, every team is going through it. Like, I mean, Arizona is sitting at the top, but they've had to fight, you know, to win a lot of their games, just as we have. You know, their record is better in conference, but they've been in a lot of similar games. You know, a lot of our games in conference have kind of mirrored each other. They've coached better down the stretch. They've made more plays against their opponent, and they've found a way to win more of the closer games, you know, than we've been able to win. That's kind of been the difference.
And you think you're a better defensive team now than you were coming out of the non-conference season?
I just think that, yeah, I think that we were so confident and riding so high with our offense, and so many guys were playing at an insane level just from their efficiency and their statistics and in terms of their percentages of shooting the ball, and we relied on that, you know, maybe more than we needed to, and I think it's been more of a coaching thing and a focus on the details and defense, and so that if our offense isn't quite what it needs to be on a particular night, that we have a way to win.
38 deflections against Colorado, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that like a season high?
Well, it's a pack. I don't believe it's a season high, but it's a Pac-12 high. It's a conference for us. So we did many things in that game that we hadn't done. We took the most charges that we've taken in Pac-12 play. We've created the most turnovers that we've done. I thought that was really kind of the difference in the game was the you know, how we played in ball screen defense. It was significantly better than what we've been doing lately. We focused on that going into the game. It was a problem against Utah at some time, so we spent more time on that. And then the turnover margin, you know, plus 10 in that. It was something earlier in the year that we were as good as anybody in the country with our turnover margin. So we saw that work in our favor, and that was helpful in that game.
That's good.